Welcome, Colette Walker and John Hannah, candidates for the Independence for Scotland party in Thursday's UK general election. You're offering voters an alternative to the SNP on the ballot, Colette. Why should we choose ISP?
Well, we're supposed to live in a democratic society, and people really shouldn't be told that you can only vote for one party or one person. At the end of the day, people are allowed a choice, and ISP are giving people that choice if they don't feel that they want, for any reason, whatever reason that may be, is to vote for one particular party that they might have done in the past. We all change our minds, and we're giving them that choice.
John, ISP is unique among political parties in Scotland, and perhaps a historic first in that you are standing on a platform of abstention. Could you give a brief heads up on what that means in practical terms?
So, in practical terms for us, it means that we won't take the oath in Parliament, won't take the oath to the Crown. We don't support the monarchy in ISP. So that will leave us in a position where we don't get to stand up and ask questions in Parliament. We don't feel that any Scottish representatives are listened to anyway. We're not really represented in Westminster. But we can come back here, and what we intend doing is we can open our constituency office and we can work directly with the people of Scotland, in Scotland, for Scotland. So that's our preferred route, and to then progress more support for independence for Scotland.
You would be foregoing your salary?
Yes, I've made some provision for that. I'm sure the party have as well, Colette, haven't they? So that's a bit of a, and if anybody wants to throw us a couple of £1,000, that would be good. But it's one of those things, Peter, that you have to make sacrifices. Lots of people won't. They want to take the gravy. I'm prepared to make that sacrifice, even if they aren't. So, yeah.
John, you do have the possibility for expenses.
Yeah, of course, yeah. We can have travel expenses, for example. So if we need to get around Scotland, that would be easy enough. We wouldn't have the expense of flying up and down to Westminster every week, or staying in hotels or whatever, or having a second home. We do also get expenses for staff and for staff costs, and for a constituency office. So we can do all the normal things that your normal member of Parliament can do. It's just that we won't be standing up in Westminster every week getting shot down in flames. I don't think it's something that we should really be focused on in terms of Westminster. All the good work needs to be done here in Scotland, as I said earlier. Yeah.
Colette, you describe ISP as ticking all the boxes. I can see about 8 boxes that are ticked on your leaflet. But what are the most important of these for you? And I think particularly as a woman.
Yes, the women's rights issues is a main concern to quite a lot of the voters here in East Renfrewshire. I've spoke to quite a lot of voters that felt that they were politically homeless with the candidates that we've got here in East Renfrewshire. So a lot of them are actually very happy that I'm actually standing and they can actually go out and give their vote instead of either staying at home or spoiling their ballot paper. But I think also the likes of our direct democracy, which is completely unique to ISP, and going into a completely different route for Scotland and actually trying to educate people what direct democracy could actually mean for the future of Scotland. But I would also say the universal basic income, again, very unique to ISP. We hear about the cost of living crisis and the 1 in 4 children that are living in poverty in Scotland. The universal basic income really hasn't been spoken about by any other political party in this campaign. And I think that's a major policy that could really be beneficial to the people of Scotland. And yes, I know we've got restraints because it would be classed as a reserved matter to Westminster, and they're really not interested in looking at that. But again, I think that's the importance of actually getting independence so that we can actually bring these progressive policies like universal basic income into Scotland.
John, when I look at your constituency, on the map, however, it looks as though you may be in or close to an SEZ and Freeport. And ISP has a policy on those things.
Yeah. So we oppose Freeports. To be quite honest, I don't know if the town that I'm in is in the Freeport or not, because I've seen 2 or 3 different maps. But certainly it takes in, Fourth Freeport takes in pretty much one half of Fife from the end of the estuary to the other end of the estuary. It takes in West Lothian, 70% of Edinburgh, the city, all the way out to the end of the estuary there as well. So it's a big space. We oppose Freeports because they will be unregulated. There's a few issues with that. It's quite difficult to get information from freedom of information requests, for example. I do know that it was Michael Gove and John Swinney that set them up, along with my MSP, Fiona Hislop, in terms of the fourth one. But we have no idea really how employment rights will work in Freeports. They're notorious for having different rules and regulations from the rest of the country. You know, who's responsible for planning? And if it's a Freeport, does that open us up to fracking, for example? We don't know what kind of company structures are there. Can overseas companies just come in and buy things up? What would customs exemptions be, for example? Now, we do know that there are some tax exemptions for 10 years, I think it is, and some of the contracts could be 25 years long. So what does that do to local services if we don't have a tax take in that Freeport area? So for us, too many unanswered questions around how Freeports will operate and how they'll impact local people and the local economy. And lots of the freedom of information requests that people have put in have come back redacted. So for me, that's a red flag. If we're not getting information from the Scottish Government or from the UK Government, what is it they're trying to hide? That's the first thing I think about in terms of the Freeports. So there may be some investments here and there, but who is benefiting from that investment? It doesn't look like it's going to be the people in the Freeport area. It'll be more or less the companies that come in. And if that's the case, and we have offshoring allowed, then where does all that profit go? Probably offshore, and it won't benefit us. So too many unanswered questions, too many issues to look at, and not enough information coming from the Scottish Government or the UK governments.
Colette, you were formed in 2020 as a list-only party for the Holyrood election. What do you say to those who claim that you're splitting the vote both at Holyrood and Westminster elections?
Yes, we got accused of splitting the vote. We were going to be splitting the vote in 2021 when we were basically outlining the Deont system and how you vote properly with the voting system that we have here in Scotland for the Scottish Holyrood elections. And we were just a regional list party, so we were not contesting any seats in the constituency, which at that time was fundamentally going to be SNP led. So we actually spent a lot of time producing videos to actually showcase exactly what we were talking about and how it worked in the past and how it could work in 2021. The SNP had a very strong campaign of SNP 1 and 2. And again, because we were a smaller party, it was basically what do you know kind of attitude. Sadly, on that occasion, we were proven right because there was over 1 million votes that were actually basically wasted, and it let more unionist MSPs in where we could have had some more independent supporting MSPs. When it comes to Westminster, it is first past the post, so it is a lot harder for smaller parties and any independent candidates to get quite far in the process in the first place. But again, as I said earlier on, we do live seemingly in this democratic society that people are supposed to be able to vote for any person or any party they so wish that's on the ballot paper. And it really isn't up to one party to say that you must vote for us. That's not in their remit. People in Scotland or any other country that's voting, they lend the person or the party their vote. And it's really up to that person to decide, not the party. We can outline what we are offering and what we think is best for the country and what we look upon a progressive outlook to the country. but it's really up to the person to decide on who they feel most comfortable putting that X on the box. So there's definitely no splitting any vote because you lend a vote. But also last year in the by-election in Rutherglen, Hamilton West, where I stood in the by-election, there was 14 candidates and there was 5 candidates in total that supported Scottish independence. Now, if you added all the candidates that supported independence together and gave them to the main candidate that was SNP Katie Loudon, if you actually gave her all those votes, she still would have been 6,000 votes short to the Labour count. So we weren't splitting any vote. We actually allowed people to come out and vote and cast a democratic right to vote. So we didn't split any vote in the by-election, and we're certainly not doing it in this election.
John, there's a very short turnaround between this UK election and the Holyrood 2026 in political terms. You'll not be standing aside as a party as you did in 2021. Will you be standing in both the constituency and as a list party?
Well, as far as I'm aware, our policy is to stand in the list. So, yeah, I don't want to be standing aside again. I think we've done that in 2021, as Colette's already mentioned. It didn't quite work for us. Didn't quite work for the movement as well. The SNP 1 and 2 situation put the movement in a as not as good a place as it could have been in the Holyrood Parliament. I mean, in my constituency, or my region, sorry, for the Scottish Parliament elections in Lothian, we had 110 votes that were just wasted, really. And I think, off the top of my head, I think the most votes anybody got on the list was about 29,000 votes, I think. So if people had used those 110,000 votes to vote for another independence candidate, there could have been another 2, possibly 3 people in that parliament that were independence supporting candidates. So for me, we really need to take a good hard look at the whole movement needs to take a good hard look at the 1 and 2 votes. And I think if a party stands on the constituency, then they should be leaving the rest of the regional votes for everybody else. And that can be split between different parties. You know, there might not be as many people in those smaller parties as there are in the main party, but it would allow people, as Colette says, to exercise their democratic right to vote for 2 different independence people so that they fill that parliament with as many independence candidates as possible and get as many independence MSPs so that we can then make a better effort to promote independence and take the country forward. Yeah. Sounds
sensible indeed. Colette, could just at the end here, how would you're not going to, if you get elected, you won't be taking any oath at Westminster because you won't be doing that. How will you tackle the question of the oath at Holyrood?
Okay, so I'm going to leave on a bit of a cliffhanger because I can't say too much at the present moment, but a few of us had a meeting yesterday because this is a really important stage in Scottish politics. We thought 2021 was really important and a crucial time, especially for the independence movement. But now with what's happening with Brexit leading up to the free ports, and from October, that's when the hard Brexit really kicks in. So things are actually probably going to be getting even worse for everyone, to be fair. 2026 is going to be, I think, even more important than 2021 was. So we started working on the basis of a strategy yesterday to actually fill the Parliament, our Parliament, with independent supporting MSPs. And the way that we are discussing it at the present moment, because that is my main concern, I will not take the oath at all. But there is, hopefully we can find a way around of actually not taking the oath at all.
Okay, finally, it's Sunday afternoon, June 30th. What will you be doing for the remainder of this campaign between now and Thursday? John?
Just keep speaking to people, keep putting ourselves out there, you know what I mean, to build a profile. And it's a good opportunity for us to do that. And just keep promoting ISP. In our constituency, you know, there's some issues that around how to vote or who to vote for, as we've already mentioned. And if somebody's sending their vote out to Labour or somebody else. If you're an independent supporter, I would say if you want to give that party of independence a bloody nose, use another independence party to do that. And I'm just going to try, because in here in my constituency in Bathgate and Lithgow, that party has lost 10% of their vote, apparently, according to the electoral calculus, and so have the Tories. And for those 10% to go to me rather than Labour, that would be a good day for us. So I'm just going to keep campaigning and keep putting the word out and keep trying to get people over to our side and stop that leeching of votes to unionists.
For myself, really just now, for the next couple of days, it's really just trying to get the word out as much as I possibly can in the time scale that I've got, and really as much social media, as many interviews with different people that I can possibly do. Just everything to highlight not only myself in East Renfrewshire, but ISP overall, because this is the time that we can actually come out of the social media bubble and actually let people know who we are and what we stand for. But I've had hundreds of emails from constituents asking me for my views and opinions on so many different topics, or to sign pledges. So that's actually taken up quite a lot of my time to go through all these emails as well. But I'm trying to get us through as many as I possibly can in the time strain that I've got.
John, Colette, good luck on Thursday.
Thank you.
And all the best going forward towards 2026 as well.
Thanks a lot, Peter.
Exciting times ahead.
100%.
Definitely.